You killed one.
Sorry. You ready, Greg?
Yes.
So, we're all waiting for your next big movie. You took down the big-ass spider. Are you ready to fight a big-ass cockroach?
I am ready to fight a big-ass cockroach, yes. For those of you who know what he's talking about, I did a movie called Big Ass Spider, which was an absolute blast. I produced it and starred in it with Lombardo Boyard, who is a genius. Have you guys seen the movie? Any of you guys seen it? It's on Netflix now, and I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. When I first got the script, Mike Mendez, who's a really great filmmaker in Epic Pictures, Ray Wise is in the movie, and Claire Kramer, and the special effects are amazing. It really turned into something that I am so proud of, and we're hoping to do a sequel. The problem is, the first movie, there was a Pakistani company that did the special effects, and they did it for hardly any money because they needed a foothold into Hollywood. They got their foothold, now they're charging what they should be charging. So a sequel is just so expensive, 700 effect shots. But anyway, if you haven't seen it, check out Big Ass Spider. It's really worth it. It's 10 times better than Sharknado.
Words.
Yes, big words. I don't kill me for saying that, but I am. Yeah.
I run a magazine about charity stuff. Could you tell me about your charity involvement?
Sure. It's consumed me. It's my most important thing that I do in my life, and I wish I could only do that. I really do. It's so rewarding. It started out, my oldest son has epilepsy. So the one thing that I learned, my wife and I learned, is that there's a huge stigma attached to the world of epilepsy. When you see someone have a seizure, it's scary. So there's a stigma. No one wants to talk about it, and no one, you don't know that people around you have the potential to have a seizure. A lot of people don't know what to do. They say they know what to do. Even like EMTs or teachers or doctors, I speak, and people are like, I know what to do, and they're wrong. Because there's just, over the years, there's been so many misconceptions and old wives' tales. Never stick anything in anyone's mouth when they have a seizure, by the way. That is absolutely incorrect, that never do it. Anyway, so the only thing that I could do, outside of just holding my son and watching him have a seizure, was get him the care that he needed, and then as a, recognizable face, I was like, let's try to end this stigma. Let's just talk about it. So I started talkaboutit.org, and it's been really successful. It's a place where people can go who have something to do with epilepsy or don't, and you just can, there's celebrities on there that kind of trick you to the site, and then like Jennifer Garner asks the question, can you carry a baby full term and have epilepsy? Of course the answer is yes, and so she freezes, and then we go to an expert, we go to a doctor for the answers. So celebrities ask the questions, and then we have a subway theme, so each stop is a different, anti-bullying and this and that, whatever, and all my friends, and even people I don't even consider my friends, celebrities, I just did not take no. So it's a really great site. Everybody on there is just so generous to give their time, and I'm really proud of it. And then I got a band called Band from TV, which is me and James Denton, Scott Grimes, Jesse Spencer, Adrian Pasdar, Hugh Laurie, Jorge Garcia, tons of people. And we play to raise money for all of our various charities. So if you don't know about that, you can go to bandfromtv.org. Not BANNED. That's not yet. We're still hanging in there. Bandfromtv.org, and you see all the charities that we support, and then we always have guests. I mean, from Wayne Brady and Joey, Fatone to Jennifer Love Hewitt and Jennifer Garner and whoever else. People come up all the time and join us, and we are really proud of it. So that's something that we've raised in 8 years. We've raised over $5 million for charities. So I'm really proud of it. I wish we could be here. I mean, it would be so much fun to have a party where we're the greatest band on the planet. So yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for coming to GMX. We really appreciate it, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us. What first led you to acting?
Reacting? No, I don't know what that means. It's like a really highfalutin question. I was just always interested in getting a reaction, really. I think that's where it really starts from, making someone laugh, making someone cry, making, something, just some sort of reaction. It started off as making someone laugh, and, growing up in LA, my oldest friend in the world is J.J. Abrams, and we met when we were 4. So from there, he's making movies and I'm starring in all of them. And I'm 9 years old and, you know, getting stabbed in the heart. And he's holding the camera here and stabbing me with his other hand. But that's really where it started. Was I always just loved entertaining and loved doing that. And then it wasn't a traditional route. It wasn't like, I mean, I did it through elementary school. I was in theater, and but then having friends around me that were doing it, I would try writing and helping. Like Matt Reeves is one of my oldest friends too. So Matt, I produced his student film at USC, his thesis film with Brian Burke, and Berkey now runs Bad Robot with JJ. It's a very incestuous group we have going on. But it's amazing how many people that now looking back that are really close friends are doing things, and luckily I'm still friends with all of them, and they've been generous enough. As an actor, I'm kind of the only actor in that group, and as an actor you really are kind of at the mercy. I mean, now I'm producing and trying to get stuff going on my own, but you're really at the mercy of other people hiring you. It's like the other thing I do, which is play the drums. You can't really just do that. It's not like everybody. All people do is complain when you play the drums by yourself. You need people to play with you. I need people to play with me as an actor, and I've been lucky enough that my friends want to work with me and keep hiring me, and so I've been really lucky, and I've been part of some of the coolest projects I think that have been made. So I've been really lucky in that way. Yeah.
All right, well, we love your work on Heroes, of course.
Thank you.
And all these superhero movies are coming out. So if you had your pick of any superhero franchise character you play in a movie, who would you pick?
Wow. In a movie franchise?
Sure, yeah.
Well, I'd love to do the movie version of Heroes. That would be so incredible. I loved my role, I have to say. I get asked this all the time, and I know it sounds, like the easy answer, but I was, I don't think I would have chosen any other role than the one I had on Heroes, just because it was internal, it was the brain, it was a personal thing. Flying is cool, and then, okay. And then, stopping time and going back in time was like, okay, that solves every problem on the show. Why don't we just go back in time and everything's fine? But this was like, it was a really internal struggle, and then finding, I loved the role. I thought it was, the role of a lifetime, until this role that I just had. But I'm really, I have to say, that would probably be it, and it's opened up such a world for me. This genre is my favorite. It's always been my favorite, and so just to step into it and then be a recognizable face in that world where someone will call and say, "Hey, do you want to star in this Spider movie?" Or any of the other things that I've done. It helps kind of give me street cred in that world, and the world that I would come to this convention in a second. I mean, this is what I love. And I'm walking around buying T-shirts here. It's like, it's fun, and everybody's great, and everybody has a passion for it. So, anyway, I'm really lucky to be able to have that character to lean on, and then use it to hopefully, I haven't people don't go, hey, you're just Matt Parkman, and hopefully they'll accept me in other characters, other roles. All right.
I got it. So you're a drummer, co-host of my show, It's a Man's World. He's a drummer too.
Cool.
We always ask them, who is the best drummer of all time in rock and roll?
Who did you listen to?
I'd say John Bonham.
Yeah, I mean, John Bonham, Neil Peart, any of these guys,
Dave Grohl is one of my favorites.
Dave Grohl. For me, Stan Lynch, because he's the drummer for Tom Petty and Heartbreakers, and he has such a meter. And I said this before, I was on this magazine, Musicians Magazine, because of charity work, and they were like, "Who's your favorite drummer?" And I was like, "Stan Lynch," And all of a sudden, hello, hi, it's Stan Lynch. No one's ever mentioned my name before. Oh, I love you. And then, of course, last week, Tom Petty was playing in LA. And I was like, "Hey, Stan Lynch, remember that favor I did for you? I'd love to go to the show." And he's like, "Dude, I haven't toured in years." So there's, but he is amazing. Like, that's what I listened to growing up, was like Warren Zevon and Tom Petty and T-Bone Burnett. I mean, I went to go see T-Bone, who's now doing music for movies and stuff. And but yeah, that was. But I also listen to my kids now. I have 2 drum sets sitting at home like this.
Nice.
You can't teach someone how to play the drums, unless they're left-handed, because it's like a mirror
Right.
image, right? So my kids sit there, and I'll show them a little, but anyway, they're listening to impossible drum beats that are synthesized and
Yeah.
synced and, auto-tuned, whatever, auto-tuned version of drumming. It's not the same thing. But whatever inspires you. I mean, I listened to the Police growing up. Holy crap, man. Stuart Copeland, come on. I mean, these guys were amazing. And I'd never catch up to them. I'd never be able to do it. And I'm self-taught. Like somebody says, hey, do paradiddle. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I can play that song that you want me to play. And luckily we play covers in the band. So it's easy for me.
How old were you when you first started playing drums, and what was the first song you ever learned?
Good question. On the song part, I was 13 when I started playing the drums, 12, 13. It was a Rush song. I mean, it's impossible. Or it was like Van Halen. It's like I hear there's a kid online right now on YouTube. The first time I've ever seen somebody play, where it's like, the beginning of that song. It's like that's impossible. It's an engine, is what we're listening to. It's not even drums. This kid's doing it on the drums with double bass and the whole thing. So I forgot. That or Enter Sandman, one of those two. Just like, gotta play that. I have to play it. Must play it. But it's fun. It's really fun. And that like playing with a band and being the drummer. Like you make a mistake, everybody's like.
They look at you.
Yeah, I mean it's just you can't make a mistake.
Like, if you make a mistake, please do not look at me.
Right.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yes, exactly. Because then even if the audience didn't hear, now they know.
Exactly. Thank you, Terry Hatcher. we were playing this gig, like huge gig. Yeah, and we started off playing, and she was like, "I'm sorry, wait, hold it, stop." She looks back, and she's like, "Somebody is off on the drum." I'm like, "Come on, Terry!" The sweetest. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And that's just part of like. By the way, that's when we act. It's like, cut. Let's go back. You can't do that on stage, It makes for a great part of our show because it's very rat packy, and I went after her and she went after me. It was just fun, But still, it's like playing the drums is just. It gives me that rush that I don't get. Joe was asking me earlier about like if I do theater, and I haven't done theater because I have a family, 3 boys, and it doesn't pay for me to do it. I wish that I could. I wish I could take time off and do a play. I've been offered stuff that could really be amazing parts for me to challenge me. But that's where I get that feeling of playing in front of a live audience, and also the teamwork of like we're all in this together. It's like if you drop the ball, we all have to either keep going or pick up, whatever. So or unplug Adrian, which is another thing to do.
All right, well, I got a curveball for you. And I watched the sitcom you on ABC. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember the specific episode where you were married to a lady, and you got on an airplane and sat beside Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh yes.
Who was on your celebrity list of people you sleep with if you ran into them.
Yeah.
So that led me into, has anyone ever come up to you and said you were on their celebrity list?
Yes. And none of those guys have been good looking. And my wife would allow me to do that. Oh my God. First of all, if you look up Greg Grunberg, like you Google me, the first search is Greg Grunberg bear.
Oh.
I mean, it's the first search.
Oh, no.
So I've got to explain that to my 10-year-old. He's like, what is this, Dad? And then when we watch baseball, I have to explain to him why you call a doctor if your erection lasts more than 4 hours. Why when I'm watching baseball do I have to answer that question? It's a really funny question. And also, Jen, I didn't know Love. Okay, so we met, and I've been on her show now. We did, I forgot the name of the show. Anyway, she had the show on Lifetime, and I played this guy, for a long time on the show. She is amazing. We've become really good friends. We have a couple projects we're trying to get going together, but on that show, suddenly we got thrown into, on the plane. If you didn't see it, it's called Love Bites, and it was like a comedy version of The Twilight Zone, because every episode was something new. It was all about love and relationships and whatever. And the only constant, no pun intended, but Constance Zimmer and I were married. And so he went to us, and it was like this married couple, and they were brilliant. Cindy Shupak ran the show. She's such a great writer. And we got to do a lot of really fun stuff. But mine was, and everybody's got that list.
Yes.
Everybody's got this list that apparently, like, you know, your wife's like, okay, you can do it. That's if you ever see that person. And so we pull up at the airport, and I see Jennifer Love Hewitt, you know, unloading her bags. I look at my wife, and she's like, oh, go Stallion. Oh, yeah, that's really gonna happen. And then you get to be in first class, and somebody comes over and goes, would you mind switching? Could you? No, I'm not in first class. And she goes, my baby's crying, and this is my nanny. Could you? And I end up sitting right next to Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I'm like, what? And she asks me to join the Mile High Club with her in the bathroom. And, you'll have to see the episode to find out what happened. But all of a sudden, I'm in this tight bathroom with Love. It was just awesome. Awesome. I love my job. Pretty great. Yes.
So I was playing the game LA Noire.
Yes.
And I love this game. I love the kind of pioneering, you know, technology with this facial recognition that they're doing. It's like nothing I'd ever seen before when I played it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, holy crap, there's the cop from Heroes, and there's like 7 dudes from Mad Men.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering a couple things like, do you guys like all have the same agent or something? Or, but mainly,
My mom made the game.
but mainly like.
It's a great question, by the way.
But, and also maybe like, can you talk about that technology, like the filming of that, if there was anything weird
Yeah.
that was going on with the film?
Yeah, it was incredible. First of all, there's a buddy of mine named Tom Ham. He runs creative for Machinima now. Tom, he's been a judge at E3. He was just like this. I mean, this is how I met Tom. We were doing an Alias DVD release, and I looked out, and there's this huge Korean dude just standing there. He's like, I got a question, and he's the greatest guy. Okay, like most actors I know, they're like, yeah, and they walk away, and they never again. Me, I'm like, you know, you and I could be friends for the rest of our life. And that's what happened. Tom came up, we started talking, and then he moved out from Virginia. Anyway, he's so tied into the gaming world, and I love games. Played them. I love technology. I created an app. I'm like all into that stuff, and so he tells a bunch of people that I would love to be in games, and luckily it's kind of the crossover audience, right? So these game guys are like, what? Matt Parkman? Holy shit! Yeah. So they call me up, and I've been in Halo. I've been in Condemned. I've done all these games that I love. And even if I'm an ND voice, it doesn't even matter. If I'm just screaming and I'm yelling, I'm in the game. I can play the game and go, that's good. Yeah, and most people are like, yeah, whatever. Right, sure. You know, JJ and I are playing, and he's like, dude, doesn't anywhere sound like you, yelling to his death, you know, whatever. This game was, first of all, the Mad Men, the reason why Mad Men is because you think about it, it's a period show.
Yeah.
Those faces have to be period. It's LA Noire.
Okay.
So they went to that cast, and I think it was the same casting director, and got all these great people. So I was supposed to do, like a lot of things, I was supposed to do one role. That was like, I forgot which role, and I couldn't do it because of schedule, which has screwed me up on a couple things. One was Star Trek. JJ had this unbelievable role for me in Star Trek. I couldn't do it. I ended up being the voiceover of the Spock's stepdad. So, but it's that kind of thing where I was like so bummed I couldn't do it because I heard about the technology too at that time. It was unbelievable, so revolutionary and new.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, so anyway, I get the call, they want me to come down and do this thing. So what is it? It's, I think 48 cameras in one huge room, and all the cameras are just like in a globe, just all around you. And the camera that you're talking to is right in front of you. You can't move, so I couldn't use my hands. I'm Jewish, so that's impossible. I was like, how's anybody gonna hear me? So anyway, I can't use my hands, and I can't, this is just about as far as I can go, you know? And so they're really, you know, using from here up. But it wasn't like they put dots on my face, it wasn't like any of that stuff, you know? We just did Star Wars, and one of the actors every day would start with the, you know, stuff. And I was lucky, this technology, it was a massive white room, like we had an Alias, it was like this clean room. And then they had another room filled with computers. So, and then because it was computer, you know, capture, motion capture, it wasn't even motion capture, it was, I don't even know what you call it. It's like video motion capture, crazy technology, right? You can't have any flyaways. So you can't have the Pee Wee Herman thing I got going. You can't do it. So you get there, they have to put basically a Devo. You have to turn your head into a Devo helmet and like spray it, and then bake it. I mean, not one flyaway, because then it would it'll, what's it called? I forgot my name, like a shirt, mosaics, not mosaics, but anyway. Yeah, pixelates. Okay. So I went through this process the first day, hair and makeup through about 2 hours. And it's me. It's not like I'm going through creature, makeup. 2.5 hours, and the room with the computers overheats. So they're like, dude, we're so sorry. I'm like, what are you talking about? So then I went out, I did a movie, I came back, and I went through the whole process again. They were still doing it. And I did it, and it was awesome, because you're staring at a camera, there's a picture of the Mona Lisa, right? So her eyes were right in the middle of the camera lens, on either side of the camera lens. There's something obviously about her face, that they wanted you to just be as I don't know. He put that face there, but I did every line. I had to do them different ways, and the director was in the other room, and he was just calling it out. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done, and it's sort of this version of me. If you look at it, it's a little, but it looks really a lot like me. And I started this other game, Condemned, where it doesn't look like me at all. It's kind of better looking than me. That's not bad. But this was just so cool that it was so accurate. And also LA in the 30s, it was accurate. And driving around LA, I mean, I grew up there, not in the 30s, but I grew up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going down Wilshire Boulevard right now. And it's the same streets, it's the same thing. So it was just awesome, really, really cool. Loved it, yeah.
You mentioned Star Wars. How does it feel to be in Episode 7?
Absolutely the thrill of my life. The role of my life, and I don't have a huge role. I was there for 6 weeks, so it's not tiny, but I mean, comparatively, it doesn't even matter. That's the thing that I kept saying, was that, I said to JJ, I was like, look, I don't care what it is. Like Lost. He's like, come out to Hawaii, we're gonna shoot this thing, I want you to do this thing in Lost. I was like, okay. So I get there, and they're fitting me for a pilot uniform, and I got killed in 5 minutes, But again, who cares? I was like, I'm a pilot on Lost, they got killed. It was like so exciting. This, obviously, just to another level. And it was so weird because you're there and all the classic characters are there, and I obviously can't say anything at all about who I am or what I do or whatever, but what we're shooting, and JJ yells cut, and he comes over to me, and JJ, after every take, is like, holy shit, it's Star Wars! I mean, that's how he's a fucking crazy fan, and so am I. We're like, what are we doing? And so it was that kind of thing every day, and then dailies and stuff that he'd be looking at. I'd sneak, looking over his shoulder at lunch or something and go, oh my God, that's a poster right there. It's so beautiful, so iconic. It's exactly what we want. And I'm saying we on that side of the table, not on this side of the table. I was like, wow, this is not, this is not somebody else's Star Wars. This is true to Lucas. This is not even I'm not a huge fan of the older movies, just me personally. It is taking us back to exactly what we want, Very little digital, mostly practical effects. It's so cool, man. Unbelievable. And then the things that I got to do are ridiculous. Crazy ridiculous. So I just hope, and we'll see what happens. Nobody saw any scripts either. It's all top secret. You don't see any. I mean, as an actor, you get it. You prepare the night before. You go in. You know your stuff. Nope. It was like, here's your pages. Like when you got there, here are your pages. Sign out for them, and they're in a special paper that can't be photographed. We had, I can tell you all this stuff, which is really fun and cool, is constantly paparazzi drones over the set.
Yeah. There was something like that in the UK where they had a full...
That's where I was. Yeah, so we're there, and the Millennium Falcon, we've all seen the fucking Millennium Falcon. I was like, what is going on? And the X-Wings are there, which I was like, oh, so excited to see them.
I do have a question about the X-Wings. Are they like a Mark II? Because they're different from the original trilogy.
I don't even know what you're talking about. But I'll tell you, no, it was just cool that, that was the thing. It was like, JJ was bummed that stuff got out, because he's leaking really cool stuff anyway. He is going back and forth with Christopher Nolan, and they're sending from Batman to him. And it's cool. But the stuff that people got, I was like, what does it really matter? Like this aerial shot of, I mean, the base. So yeah, you did see that. That's a base. They've never shot there before. This area that we shot in was really cool. But the vehicles and the planes and stuff, it's all stuff that's been established, for 30, 40, 50, whatever the years ago. So that kind of made everybody feel better, and that's why he released that Millennium Falcon thing with the tumblers in the bottom of the Millennium Falcon, which is cool. Yeah, we had to wear cloaks. We had to wear black cloaks over, what we were wearing and who we were and everything. Everybody, and it was just wild going from our trailers into car. They had cars lined up. You'd get in the cars, drive to the set, and then get out because there were cameras. We didn't know where the cameras were.
Well, what if we all joined up as the BB gun staff and we'll shoot the little journal?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what they wanted to do. They had their own helicopter circling to see, because they had a couple of helicopters go by taking pictures. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's better that happens, than not having interest. I mean, it's the biggest interest you can have. So JJ used it for UNICEF and for this really great charity cause that he did. It's been a blast, and it's an undertaking that I can say as a best friend, it's something really, really daunting. I mean, he's done this with Mission, and he did it with Star Trek, and this is, I think the best of all of them. How he's going to be reviving the franchise and staying true to it. He's not. This is my version. I mean, Kevin Smith came to the set and was crying like a baby. I mean, that guy is the greatest. I love Kevin, and that just shows you how true to it and how faithful he's staying.
Did you hug him a little bit?
I wasn't there when Kevin was there. I wasn't there. But JJ said it was like ridiculous. He was like, "Come on, man, stop! It's enough." But I have to say that while we were shooting, there were some massive stars that stopped by. I mean, first of all, Pinewood is, you're driving through Pinewood Studios, and it's like there's the 007 stage, and they're shooting a new 007, and it's so historic.
Did you get starstruck for a little bit?
Yeah, I got geography struck. I was like, look where I am! And looking up, hoping there was a drone there going, yeah! No one ever captured it. JJ has a drone too. He has a drone, so he was like, we were playing with that, which was unbelievable. But it was really an experience I'll never forget. Yeah. It was amazing. Luckily, it's captured on the thing. Yes, film.
Outside of J.J. Abrams, who would you say has had the biggest impact on your career?
Well, as an influence on my career?
Sure.
Tom Hanks, Albert Brooks, who else? I mean, I've been lucky that people like Tim Crane, hired me for Heroes. That was a huge thing. But as far as like influencing me, I mean, it would just be, guys like that can cross over and do comedy and drama. Tom Hanks especially, and that guy is ridiculous. Henry Winkler. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but Henry is the nicest person you'll ever meet in your life. And 2 days on the set, he knows everybody's name, which is actually weird. It's just like a weird trick, But he is the sweetest. I did a movie, I wrote this movie called Group Sex. It's on Netflix with Tom Arnold and Henry, and I cast all these people that I'm huge fans of, and now Henry and I have stayed really close friends. And he's a guy that I respect. But a guy like Tom Hanks, to me, is, we did a movie together. I mean, we did a movie together. It's a Coen Brothers movie that I'm in, and he's in it, he stars in it. But we were on the red carpet, and he walked by and he grabbed me, and he was like, "This guy's the best guy in the movie!" And I'm like, "Tom Hanks, are you kidding me?" So, guys like that, I just respect them so much and love what they do. And they're so honest. That's what I try to do, as much as I can. I know my limits. I'm not, Anthony Hopkins or anything. I just love being as honest as I possibly can and really letting the camera in. And that's what I try to do.
What quote, phrase, or song best describes you?
Wow. Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I don't know. That's a good question too. I have to think about that for a little bit. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
So a nuclear bomb has just gone off. Twinkie is off the list. Cockroaches are off the list. What is the one food that you would have for the rest of forever if you were the only person left?
Chocolate croissants. That's pretty obvious. Yeah, I'm a foodie. I'm a food nut. My guilty pleasure right now is watching a show called Mind of a Chef on. It's the greatest. It's the greatest show ever. So good. It is fat guy porn. Totally is fat guy porn. You know, Anthony Bourdain, all that stuff. I just love it. I love it so much. It's great. And you can gain weight watching TV. Who knew that? Without even eating.
Wow. Have you tried any good southern fried food since you've been here?
Well, they have a whole episode, they have a whole thing on this Southern Chef, and I think it's a place called Husk.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want to go, but, you know.
Do
Yeah,
it.
but I don't have enough time to, maybe, I don't know, I'll try. I want to so bad. What do you recommend? There's
You
a
can find fried
crab.
food anywhere, but catfish is really great.
Yeah, there's a crab place apparently. Where he goes to
Yeah.
a crab place, that little place. And then also, was it hot chicken?
Prince's Chicken.
Prince's, yeah, I want to go to Prince's, because he was crying. We went to Prince's.
They'll give you the white boy chicken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give your white boy hot.
It's, oh
They'll
really?
give you the white boy hot, yes.
Yeah,
That's what it's called in there? You go
Yeah.
white boy hot?
Well, I've ordered there, but I called,
They
the
call
hotel
it.
was white over the phone, they said, are you sure you want the hot? And I was like, so they double check with you.
Well, that's what he goes in and there, and he goes, I want the extra hot. And they're
Yes.
like,
You can't have it.
Is that
No.
the place with the executioner that's put people in the hospital?
yes.
Yeah, you gotta sign something. to
Sounds like a fun place to go.
It's crazy.
If you're not gonna sign it, it's not worth doing.
Yeah. But man versus food is,
That where
I
you
can't
follow?
stand it. Like Adam, those guys I can't stand. Oh, by the way, Twitter is the greatest thing in the world. I'm sorry, for a guy like me. The best thing ever. Like Anthony Zimmern, right? I follow this guy who's on, he's got Bizarre Foods. So I follow Andrew Zimmern, and I'm like, I really would love, I follow him, he's following me. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, I really want to go on an adventure with you. He's like, okay, do you want to go do? I'm like, what? And the newest one is these guys, Impractical Jokers. I don't know if you've seen that show. Those guys are the best. And I follow them, and now all of a sudden they're following me, and they're like, dude, no way. Yes, come out when you're in New York. We'll throw you into a sketch. The weirdest one, I will tell you, is the Blade Runner. He was in the Olympics, and I was like, hey, Oscar Pistorius, you're my hero. Oh my God, you're the greatest guy ever. Can you take a picture? Can you say, talk about it? Because I get celebrities to say, talk about it. I go, can you, so I followed him, he followed me back. I'm a huge fan of heroes, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this guy's the greatest. I'm following him, and sure enough, you know. Yeah, then you never know about people. So, but, yeah.
You got something you want to tell us then?
No. No, that was crazy. He reached out to me right before the trial. He's like, could you send me a supportive tweet out? I was like, unsubscribed.
So let's say we did JJ and the Impractical Jokers with that. I want to do a spoof on heroes. You get to be the cop, but you
We
gotta.
originated in Practical Jokers. JJ and I, when we were young, we used to do prank phone calls before Crank Yankers, before Jerky Boys, before any of those guys.
But what if JJ says you have to wear drag?
Drag, first, I think we all saw in the presentation, I'm not afraid to wear assless chaps. And that was, by the way, that was Jay, can you imagine? JJ wrote Felicity, FYI. So he was at home going, Sean wears assless chaps. He was the guy who came up with that idea. So, you know, I should have questioned our friendship back then. But I did it, you know, whatever. He says jump, I say how high. So.
What's it like playing with Hugh Laurie?
Incredible. And Hugh is one of the funniest guys and also just such a sweet guy. He is a really brilliant musician. We've been playing together for a long time, right? The last year and a half, 2 years, he's got his own band and he's out there playing with this amazing band. If you haven't seen it, we did a PBS special. Oh, he did a show here? Oh, of course.
It was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, he has an album called Let Him Talk and another album I think just came out.
Yeah.
But he brings a whole other, like everybody brings songs, right? So James Denton is like, let's do Garth Brooks tune. I'm like, I like Garth, you know, whatever. And then he brings another country song. And I'm like, okay. And we do our version of it. And Jesse Spencer plays fiddle, so we'll do, let's do Devil Went Down to Georgia, that'll work, you know. And Hugh, though, is so brilliant. And he brings these sort of British rock kind of commitments kind of feel to it. Or Dr. John, like he's a huge New Orleans jazz blues fan. But again, just such a sweet guy. You know, none of us, I mean, $5 million, that's a lot of money. And none of us have seen a penny of it. It goes out. And sometimes we'll play a gig and we'll just say, send 10% to epilepsy. We don't even touch the money. I don't want to touch it. Just send it. Make sure I see that it's been donated. And it's the best feeling in the world. And his sister sits on the board of Save the Children, so that's his charity that he supports, among others. But again, just such a talented guy. And then on stage, we played, so you guys have Loman's? Do you have the store Loman's out here? It's like Marshall's or any of these stores, it's like a discount club here. And the grand opening of a Marshall's, imagine, okay? And Hugh is a very sort of, proper guy, British guy, whatever. And he doesn't want to do low-class stuff. Like we've been asked to play, like Ellen wanted a song to play. Now that's a daytime talk show. We're a proper rock band. Proper rock band plays at night. And the sun goes down. All right, Captain Hook, sure, whatever you want. And so we had to say no to Ellen, had to say no to this daytime TV shows. I'm like, it's exposure for the band. No. Anyway, we asked, they're going to pay us $350,000 to play the opening of a store. How can I say no to that? That's so much money for charity in a time when people aren't donating money to charity, right? So I say yes, and Hugh goes. It's down in Orange County, outside of LA, and Hugh shows up, and he's like, "Wait, what is this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're opening this store, And it's all these housewives were there, and all these people there, and it ended up being the biggest day they've ever had. It did like $2 million in sales, and huge. But he grabs the mic, so he goes from I wish I would have known. This is. I'll give you the mic. And he grabs the mic and he's like, sweaters at 50% off. And he does this introduction for the band in a humorous voice. And it's so proper British and it's so awesome. Like he just throws himself in like I do too, Make the best of it, make the most of it. And he's been amazing. He's been one of the major reasons we raised as much money as we have because he's such a big star. And all over the world, we've got requests to play everywhere. It's because, it's a lot of times it's because of him and Terry Hatcher, these big names. It's great. Really cool. It's been tough sometimes that people want to play with us and we're like, get a series. It's been like, it's such a balance. It's like, it sounds terrible. It's like, yeah, they do. And he stars the Goldbergs. Come on. But anyway, it's been a great journey. He's such a good friend. It's awesome.
So now when somebody on YouTube is going to ask, can they buy your records on vinyl?
Oh, we're not on vinyl. We have a thing, one DVD called Hogging All the Covers, and that's you can buy that. Donate. The money goes to charity, and then also the songs on the House soundtrack. Those songs I would really recommend. Dave Grohl was there. He didn't produce us, but the guys for the Foo Fighters produced us, and we did these. We also I'm sorry. That was for David Lynch has a charity, and we did it for the David Lynch Children's Charity, and we did a song that we actually end our show with. But there's 2 songs also on the House soundtrack that are awesome. We do a version of You Can't Always Get What You Want with Hugh singing, and then we also do Minnie the Moocher, which is like, Cab Calloway song, and David Foster produced those 2 songs for us. And we recorded them at Capitol Records in the room where the Beatles recorded. I'm sitting there, this is a crazy story, I'm sitting there, they're like, all right, we're gonna start with the drummer. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm so nervous, it's fucking David Foster, and you're at Capitol Records. He's like, all right, so that's where Ringo was, so you just go in there. And they put me in this room with my drum kit, and they've got a drum tech for me, so all I had to do was show up, totally felt like a rock star session guy. And I show up and they're like, oh, so here's a click track. And for those of you who don't know, drummers, they have in your ear this click track and they set it to exactly what they want. And if you've never played to it before, it's really hard because you're just, I'm just going by what I know, but no, you gotta listen to it. And it might be good if it's just, counting down 4, but then stick to it and you're all over the place. So I tried and it's dude, it's, you can't always give what, it's like this is it, And then we did a little variation of it, but still easy, right? Couldn't get it. I couldn't get it, I was too nervous, I couldn't get it. So finally David was like, hit the snare. I was like, say, I kicked the drum. Okay, go to lunch. I was like, what? I come back. The sound engineer is taking it. Pretty good job, right? So then I went in and I was like, let me just do it. I did it. But I was so nervous.
That was actually on one of the DVD extras of House, where they actually brought in and they talked to Hugh about it. It was a.
Oh, really?
It was, yeah, they talked to Hugh about it after the fact, and he was as nervous as you are. He actually said, like, I cannot believe I'm in the same room with David Foster. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is just.
It was
amazing.
crazy. We have some pictures. I took some really cool pictures, put the camera down here, and the board is here, and I'm leaning over here, and Hugh and David Foster. I mean, just amazing. Those moments, that's what I'm saying, like the charity stuff, it's so rewarding, and it's been incredible. To be able to, we also have done some Make-A-Wish stuff that's like, that no one really knows about, small stuff, but it made the biggest impact. You know, like there was a girl who had cancer, and Make-A-Wish doesn't do international wishes. They don't grant international wishes. So if this girl wanted to go to Paris, that was her lifelong dream, to go to Paris. And so she was at Shakey's, at the pizza place, so pizza parlor, and she's sitting there, and they're celebrating a year in remission, but she was having some trouble. And her friends were there, and they had all these balloons, and then suddenly we walked out. All of us, and there's no one else there, but like 8 people, her mom, her dad, and her boyfriend, and we walk out, she's like, what the fuck? Like, that was her reaction. Hugh Laurie is standing there, you know, and she's like, what's going on? And we said, well, we heard that you want to go to Paris. And she's like, what? And I said, you're going to Paris, and you're going with your boyfriend, and here's $5 grand, and you're going to spend money. And she was like, what? And then we had a limo that picked her up the night after that. We had a show. All of her family came to the show. And so it was like, it didn't cost, you know, we raised all this money and giving. She was so moved. She was shaking. She had the best time. That's one person. And we can only do that if you are writing the check and doing it, you know. Because we give a lot of money to these charities, and you hope that they're using the money in the right way. But yeah, it's just amazing, stuff like that. It's just so
I do a lot with kids with cancer.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and a Christmas party for the kids in the shelters too.
Oh my God. So you know.
It's the best. It's the most rewarding job ever.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a job you pay, but it's how I spend my life.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, and then there's, you know, acting on a movie where, you know, as soon as an actor gets there, they're like, where's my thing? How come I don't have a thing? Where's my room? What's my thing? I'm like, man, you want an actor to complain, give him a job. That's how you get an actor to complain. But that's, you know, just all you see of people that are just happy, happy, happy. And also I've gone through, you know, we've gone through some terrible, terrible stuff, you know, with my son, and he's doing great. And luckily, thank God, you know. And we were in the hospital once, this was crazy, and we were there for so long, he had brain surgery in Chicago. And there was a young kid that I kept seeing in the cafeteria downstairs, and like a college-age kid. And finally I went up to him, and I'm like, how you doing, man? It was just the two of us at 3 in the morning, you know. And he's like, yeah, no, we're in the room next to you. And I'm like, the room next to us is where they store all the machines. And he's like, no, we're in the middle of that room. And I'm like, what are you talking about? His little baby, and all these machines. That was a lung, a heart, a bit. And you're like, you know, he puts everything in perspective, you know. And their baby made it, and their baby was fine, which was great. But it's one of those things where every time you do a charity thing, or you come across people, you're like, oh, okay. You know, you gotta be thankful. I mean, all this is really nice, and it's great to sit here, and great to be in my position and everything, but it doesn't mean anything. It's all, you know, family and all that stuff. That's the most important stuff. And that's why when I see everybody having a great time here, it's just awesome. It's so great. Honestly, I really mean that. It's like having had days where you're like, please let my son survive, you know, or get through this. So anyway, sorry to bring the room down.
Did your son recently go see one Star Wars?
Oh, dude, Jake's a normal pain in the ass 18-year-old now. I mean, he's totally, and I use the word normal. He could have a seizure at any time, and he's seizure free. Thank God. I shouldn't say that while I'm not in LA, but he's doing great thanks to his medication, thanks to marijuana. Huh? Let me tell you something. That oil. Yeah, CBD, let me tell you, I mean, he doesn't smoke it, but it's the oil. Oh, it's been incredible for him, but he's doing really great. And yeah, the best thing ever that happened was Milo was supposed to have a seizure on Heroes, okay, Milo Ventimiglia. So we're shooting, and Jake happens to be visiting that day. So Jake's on the set, and he's hanging out. He now works with me, I direct a bunch, and he's with me, he'll stand in for me when I'm acting. Jake wants to be in the business, and he's doing great. Anyway, Milo's so sweet, and he's like, wait, you know what? Just cut for a second. Goes over to Jake and goes, hey Jake, so what should I do? I mean, should I shake like this? Should I, and Jake was like, how the fuck am I supposed to know? I'm the one having this. He was the best ever! I was like, that's my boy! That's my son. And it was so true. It's like, he's the last person that would actually know what it looks like. Oh, man. Yeah.
What would be your best advice for living your nerdiest life, your best life, following your bliss, like advice that you would pass on that you've gotten from someone or whatever?
Well, from my dad. My dad has always been like an inspiration for me, and it sounds like a Nike slogan, but just go. Like, that is what I've always learned from my dad. If someone says, hey, there's this really cool thing, and it's a pain in the ass to get there, and it's 3 hours away, go. If you're sitting at the airport and somebody starts talking to you, and you're like, don't look at them like they're a freak. Talk to them. You never know who you're going to meet. Don't be afraid. There's, I mean, it's kind of, you're asking specifically about nerdy, but I love just being open to people. I met a guy on Twitter, and we started a business and started an app together, and it's like, just don't be afraid. Like, people are great. Like, the world, we sit at home and watch TV, and all we see is the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. And sure enough, that's happening right here in a country that's this big, and everybody in this country and everybody in this country, they all love each other. The people at the top want to send troops in and kill each other. It's like, it's just go to, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who you're going to meet. Because I've had the best experiences meeting people where I least expect it, on a plane,
In an elevator.
Naked.
You were there.
That was me last night.
Is that gonna be underneath the bear tag tomorrow?
Oh, no.
I deleted the video, it's okay.
Yeah. What happens at GMX, it's out.
It's on the
Exactly, yeah. Cool.
It's about time.
For the Q&A?
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.